the amount of things I had to unlearn and learn was not funny. And that taught me to be very humble about these things.
Welcome back to Flamcast, a space where we dive into everything mixed reality, marketing, and the future of creating unforgettable brand experiences. Today, we are very excited to have Arvind, the CMO at McDonald's, with us. He's a luminary figure in marketing ecosystem, and he has been leading teams across prestigious organizations like TVS, Britannia, Levi's, and more. Welcome to Flamcast, Arvind. We are so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you for having me here.
Before we start off, I wanted to understand what was your personal relationship with McDonald's before you became the CMO of McDonald's?
Well, it's a common story, if you ask me. Most of the relationship is through one's kids, right? As in the
Yeah.
case. So my kid was a lover at McDonald's. He used to like be habitual at McDonald's, eat out at McDonald's, order in this. And that's how, if you ask me, most of my relationship before I joined McDonald's was. So when he orders, we all order. When we stop at a restaurant, he wants us to stop at a restaurant, we all stop, have something. But yeah, I mean, so that was always there.
So you have actually visited McDonald's as a customer before you became the
Yeah,
CMO.
many
So
times.
you were always a marketer. Did you ever see their marketing activities with more marketing lens?
Of course, one always falls into that habit, right? How well this brand is doing or not. What are the challenges the brand is facing? So it will always intrigue me because McDonald's, very simplistic, is a slice of American culture,
Yeah.
right? Especially in the early days when all these QSR brands came into India, right?
Yeah.
McDonald's, Domino's, KFC. So that was the allure, or that was what many consumers looked them as, right? Food is so challenging, right? Everyone have their own likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
Every few hundred kilometers, the food landscape
Changes.
changes.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging. At least from the outside, I used to imagine how the QSR brands, right, made themselves relevant in such a challenging landscape, food landscape.
So, Arvind, you have worked across industries. You have worked in fashion, automobiles, FMCG, and QSR now. What has been the personal shift for you while
Right.
transitioning from different industries?
I think the one thing that I learned very early on, and constantly remind myself, is there is no playbook, right? So the mistake I myself did very early on, and most marketeers or most people who shift categories or companies do, is what we understand as cut, copy, paste, right?
Yeah.
Or I have a hammer, I'm going to start looking for the nail, right? Or hit every nail with that hammer. It doesn't work that way. I think categories are different.
Very different.
You might be selling to the same consumer, but the same consumer, as I have seen, when she's doing grocery shopping, is so different.
Yeah.
When she's approaching skincare, is so different.
Yeah.
So the consumer behavior is different.
Yeah.
Uh, Importantly, the category context is different. Some
Yeah.
are mature categories, some aren't.
Hmm.
Then the role of the brand in that category is so different, right?
Correct.
If it's a leader brand, if it's a follower brand, so there are so many contextual differences, and then you need to understand all of those contexts, right? Understand your role, and develop a playbook. No doubt, the playbook will be informed by your own learnings in the past, and that's the reason uh, you come into some companies, right?
Yeah.
Because you bring with you a certain set of experience and
Experience.
skill set.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's not the starting point. The starting point is the context, and then you overlay from your skills what is relevant and what is not.
Yeah.
A steep learning for me was my stint in Indonesia, where I really realized it.
Oh, okay.
And funnily enough, it was within the same company,
With
within
McDonald's.
TVS,
Okay. With
TVS Motor
TVS. Okay.
Company. I moved to Indonesia, was there for close to 4 years,
Okay.
and the amount of things I had to unlearn and learn was not funny. And that taught me to be very humble about these things.
Oh, okay. So basics remain same, but it has to change with the industry
Yes,
and the context of
yes,
consumer as well.
absolutely.
Absolutely. I want to win back the time a little. Please tell us some anecdotes or pivotal moments in McDonald's history that has carved the future of McDonald's in India today.
Sure. I think the one of the earliest things the brand had to do, and which it has done successfully in many
Mhm.
countries across the globe, is build a menu that's relevant for India. All
Yeah.
right. So if you imagine the Mekalu Tikki,
Hmm.
which is inspired by the vada pav, right? That's so popular in Mumbai and
Hmm.
Maharashtra,
Hmm.
and so on and so forth. So crafting a menu that is very relevant to the Indian consumer, the Indian palate, at the same time very McDonald's,
Okay.
right? So we don't play by the playbook of, let's say, the roadside food
Oh,
or the
okay.
Indian restaurants. We
Correct.
have our own playbook,
Okay.
but inspiration from the local landscape and coming with innovations like the Mekalu Tiki.
Yeah.
So food relevance and the menu relevance, as we call it, that's I think the starting point. A lot of work went in the early years behind this. Second, I think tipping point was the happy price combo. It's not enough to have a relevant menu,
Hmm.
but one key thing for McDonald's to unlock demand is affordability,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So the Happy Price combo launched more than a decade back really unlocked, demand for India, for the Indian market, and then it was like double-digit growth after that.
Hmm.
I think the third unlock would be McCafe,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That was one of the earliest instances where we added a whole new category in addition to burgers, right?
Hmm.
We're always known for burgers.
Yeah.
We're still known for burgers.
Hmm.
But McCafe, and it's not often, it's not common knowledge,
Hmm.
but we sell one of the largest number of cups of coffee
Hmm.
as far as out of home coffee consumption
Oh,
goes.
okay.
So almost all of our restaurants have got McCafe, and we have various coffees, shakes, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So that was, I would say, the third tipping point. The fourth one was omni-channel. Post COVID, the consumer behaviors really changed, and the brand, became very, very omni-channel after that. And those are the three, four tipping points as far as the company is concerned.
Arvind, you spoke about Mac Aloo Tikki launch in India. A global brand like McDonald's is adapting to the culture nuances of India, and the menu in India is predominantly veg. While the iteration for a startup is easier, a global brand like McDonald's, failing is always difficult. Change is one thing, but making the change successful is another thing. How do you think that your team is navigating all these successful changes so far?
I think having been in the McDonald's system now for 6 odd years, I would say the McDonald's brand is geared to exactly do this, and that's why the brand has been so successful in country after country.
Okay.
So there's always a starting point, right? Like the Mekalu Tiki.
Hmm.
But Mekalu Tiki is one of our top products, not the only product.
Sure.
We replicated with McSpicy chicken, right?
Yeah.
So Indian consumers love spice in contrast to, let's say, a consumer in Europe or
Would not prefer spice at all. Yeah.
absolutely right. And spicy food is a part of the whole repertoire. So developing McSpicy chicken, relevant for Indian consumer. Mac, which is a global icon, right?
Yeah.
The Big Mac. Ours is the only country where the Mac is not beef, right? It's a vegetarian Mac.
Yeah.
So we kind of, even our coffee is very tailored to the
To
Indian palate,
Indian.
right?
Okay.
Bringing up, coming up with menu items, but importantly tailoring to the local palate. Right? It's in the DNA of the brand, right?
Okay.
And you talked about also improving it over a period of time, right? We call it renovation. So a product that's been there,
Hmm.
you can't allow it to languish, right? Because consumer tastes evolve, right?
Yeah.
New generation of consumers keep coming in. So how
Sure.
do you renovate a product? Fans of Mekalu Tiki, let's say they want to change, right?
Hmm.
Could I want to have something different today. So there's a Mexican Mecalo Tiki, which is slightly different,
Yeah, it
right?
is. Yeah.
Brings in some global flavors.
Yeah.
So that's how we also do renovation and keep improving our menu,
Menu.
because staying relevant today is very, very important.
Absolutely, I agree with you. McDonald's marketing has been timeless. We all remember one or the other ads and campaigns from McDonald's. What are the essential of creating stickiness or resonance with the consumers?
Right. So I think the key thing in what you told is memorability,
Yeah,
right? And in the context of McDonald's, the memorability comes with a lot of fondness, right? A
yeah,
lot of nostalgia.
yeah.
I think the key thing underpinning all of this is emotion, right? How do you do emotion forward advertising,
Communication. Yeah,
right? And the key underlying facets of that is storytelling, right? What's the insight? How do you bring it alive, right? And it's also being staying the course, right? It's not about doing something and then switching tactics the next quarter.
correct.
It's also about building it over a period of time.
Yeah,
When you see a loss of growth, for example, that what makes marketing work, or what makes successful brands work,
yeah.
it's about a long term sustained, right?
Sustainability, I
There's a
agree with you.
discipline about it,
Yeah,
right? You don't chop and change every few months or every few quarters.
yeah.
But underpinning all of this is emotion led work, right?
Hmm.
Wants to win hearts and minds,
Yes, of
uh,
the consumer.
rather than trying to do anything that's seemingly very logical or left brained, if you would call it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. McDonald's has been an unspoken rite of passage for many, like their people's first job, first date, or their first solo meal, also. How you have made such a comfortable space in terms of designing that people would want to come and make memories over there.
Right. That's a great question, Nidhi, and one that's close to my heart, because and I spend a lot of time with the people joining the marketing team to to for them to understand this. McDonald's is uniquely democratic brand,
Yeah.
right? Just like the occasions that you talked about, right?
Hmm.
Uh, I want to celebrate my birthday. McDonald's is a good option, right? Let's say I'm a 7-year-old girl. I want to celebrate my birthday at McDonald's, or I've got a job. I want to take my mother to a cup of coffee at a McDonald's, and so on and so forth. So it's a unique in that aspect of it being a very democratic brand,
Hmm.
welcoming everyone
Hmm.
at all life stages,
Hmm.
having relevant touch points for all life stages,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And also, that's one part of the
Hmm.
democratic nature of the brand. The other part of the brand is you could be yourself at a McDonald's,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
you could, and before the cafes came up in India,
Hmm.
you when you go to a McDonald's, you see a lot of people working at McDonald's, right? Or a cup of coffee, staying back, taking calls,
Hmm.
doing meetings. If there's a family there, the kid is running all over the restaurant, right? And no one is pushing the kid
Hmm.
and telling the kid, no, you can't go all over the restaurant. You need to be at that. So you can be yourself at the McDonald's. Importantly, like like to say, there's no one way of eating a burger, right? Everyone have their own ways of eating, let's say, a Maharaja Mac, and there is no etiquette in that sense of. So you can be yourself at a McDonald's and let your hair down, and that makes people feel very welcoming at a McDonald's.
Nice. So you also spoke about when we were talking about ads, memorable ads of McDonald's. You spoke about consumer insight and emotional connect that you try to make it more memorable for the
Right,
consumer.
right,
So I'm sure the McDonald's has a lot of first party data
yeah,
from your app
yeah,
usage, from in store,
yeah.
from the third party apps as well. What one consumer trend that has changed the marketing strategy at McDonald's in India?
I would say quite a bit. I think while we always had good amounts of data,
Yeah.
I think around COVID is when we realized that we need to move faster in this place. We brought in a customer data platform, marketing automation, and as we speak, we are going to the next level, what I call as CRM 2.0,
Okay. Nice.
to leverage all of these data-led insights into something that's actionable
Hmm.
as far as consumers are concerned. So one very simple thing is that consumers are omnichannel,
Hmm.
right? Consumers are seamless between our mall restaurant, our highway restaurant, or ordering on a Swiggy, right? How can the brand be omnichannel also
Hmm.
and be relevant across all touch points? So if
Okay.
we have to do that, we need to do something very, very different than
Hmm.
what used to do, let's say, a decade back. So how can we be relevant to a customer who is a, let's say, working professional ordering for lunch,
Hmm.
right? Versus a family who's ordering something for the weekend,
Right.
or someone is coming to a mall restaurant when they are doing a shopping trip. How can we be relevant to them? So
Yeah.
being relevant across touch points, if you ask me, is one of the most challenging parts of the whole game.
Okay. So, what about testing at McDonald's India?
Yeah.
Consumer
Yeah,
testing.
yeah. So we do a lot of that.
Yeah.
We do a lot of that. We run large scale analytical projects. One thing that comes to mind, for example, is the market mix modeling that
Okay.
we keep
Hmm.
doing, which gives various insights, right? The ROI of spends in area X is better than, let's
Then,
say,
yeah.
Y. But we don't just implement that, right? We have to do testing around it.
Okay.
We have to do pilot and control, and then test versus control, and then we have to do A/B testing also with different propositions,
Okay.
right? Which proposition works, and then double down on the proposition that works better or the media choice that works better. So a lot of testing, uh, I would say, happens, right? Testing, be it for consumer propositions, testing for pricing,
Hmm.
and so on and so forth.
We talked about consumer insight led marketing decisions. So, at what point you feel that the data stop being useful? Do you have a case in point example where you felt that a campaign has failed miserably because of the data?
Well, I'm a statistician, by education. So in that sense, I will never pull down the importance of data. But my philosophy always has been, I started my career also in consumer insights,
Hmm.
right? Early part of my career. So for me, it was consumer insight in the real sense and go back and check with data. So that combination is something that I always do.
Always works. Yeah.
uh, yes, and I can see what you mean. Many a time when you look at data in isolation, it can be very, very misleading, right? And
Hmm.
you act on it, then you are disappointed
Yeah.
that it didn't pan out the way it did because the real world insight is something else. But one has to be very, very wary of that.
What is one advice a FMB marketer can give to a non FMB marketer who is not aware of such trend?
Right. Well, one thing about food, it's close to culture, right?
Yeah.
So when you imagine, people from a culture, and I guess something like jewelry, right, would be a similar example. It's very, very close to culture, right?
Hmm.
And being close to culture actually is a great opportunity, right? You are highly involved. The
Hmm.
consumer is
Yeah.
highly involved with that category, right? But also has its hot buttons, right?
Absolutely.
Vegetarians, non-vegetarians, different kinds of vegetarians, right? So food can become a hot button, right? So you need to kind of navigate yourself
Hmm.
through these hot buttons,
Okay.
and increasingly some of them are hot buttons.
Hmm.
So food being very close to culture is something that's very few categories can boast of.
Hmm.
But at the same time, navigating those hot buttons, because it's so close to culture and sentiments and emotions, is something that you learn over time.
Nice. In the age, Arvind, where consumer do not want just an ad from any brand, they want more of experiential marketing. What are your thoughts about mixed reality driven marketing campaigns?
I do think they are the future, especially in the context of McDonald's, right? If I have to give an example, our birthday parties,
Hmm.
right, is purely experience led, right? And we have a lot of restaurants where we do birthday parties on a regular basis. And we have always been looking for solutions that can up the experience there, can personalize the experience there,
Hmm.
right? At the same time be differentiated in our solution in our birthday parties package as opposed to, let's say, the other options. And that's just an example. But mixed reality, I do believe used in the right way elevates the experience,
Okay.
brings something differentiating, brings something imaginative, right? And just elevates your solution in the competitive marketplace.
McDonald's also has a very strong presence in outdoors and retail.
Right.
what could you see MR powered billboards
Right.
or customer store experience, which is powered by mixed reality?
Why not? Why not? Why not? In the end, we are an experience-led business,
Yeah.
right? Whatever said and done, our business happens at restaurants, and our crew manages the consumers on a daily basis. So, in that experience-led business, mixed reality solutions can really elevate, uh, you know, and once the experience become memorable, right, and that's when the consumers start coming back to the brand, right?
Yeah.
So if we are able to tailor something that's memorable in that experience, I can easily see that as a differentiation.
So, food industry is highly dependent on visuals. Imagine a mixed reality experience where consumer can actually experience the product before even ordering it.
Right.
So, do you think it will help in more immersive storytelling for the
Sure,
brand?
sure. I think it's safe to say that when consumers interact with food brands like McDonald's, a lot of them are coming for the first time or the second time, right? They're not very familiar with the brand.
Hmm.
And at table stakes, they want to know what the product is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, you have your picture, you have your description. So I'm saying a very basic use case is, they want to know, what the patty looks like,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
How spicy it is, right? What's the
Hmm.
color, and so on and so forth. And then on top of it, you can build further experiences. So yes, many use cases do exist. I do believe uh, one of the food delivery platforms have experimented with visualization
Yeah.
of food. I think pizzas has been done quite well, and some experiments have been done around burgers also
Okay.
to help consumers visualize the food before ordering.
If a McDonald's was a person, how would you describe this personality in India?
Well, extremely sociable, right? Welcoming,
Okay.
big smile,
Friendly.
heartwarming,
Yeah.
very friendly,
Friendly.
right? Makes friends in an instant. And his friend circle, his or her friend circle will be a vast variety of people, right?
From all walks of
From
life.
all walks of
Yeah.
life, something like that.
Now, moving on to the final question. In 2024, Bangalore first McDonald's shut down, and there were so many nostalgic posts on social media. Do you think we can create another iconic brand in today's age and time,
Oh,
like McDonald's?
it's always possible. It's always possible. And the McDonald's model, um, people can learn from the McDonald's model, right?
Mm,
How can we be consistent?
mm,
Uh, and people talk about QSR being consistent in terms of its food, right? Because every time you go for your favorite McVeggie, you expect the same McVeggie,
Same, yeah.
right? And by and large, we deliver that, right? So consumers are very happy that wherever I go, I get my McVeggie,
Yes.
right? Uh, but that consistency that is there in our restaurant also needs to be there in marketing,
Mm,
right? To build a brand that is like you said, right? People recall with a lot of nostalgia,
mm,
a lot of love,
yeah.
right? And that consistency, that discipline, all on bedrock of great storytelling, emotion-rich storytelling.
Mm,
I think in the end, and of course, the truth, the final moment of truth is when consumer bites into a burger, right? It's the same experience every time, the predictable experience every time. Same sounds boring, right? Right? But consumers want predictability. They don't want to go
In their
wrong,
food, absolutely, they
right?
want. They come for a taste
Yeah,
and they want the
yeah,
same taste to be
yeah.
delivered again and again.
Absolutely. They don't want to think about what they want to eat, right? Every time,
Yeah.
right? Yes, I'm going out for a celebration. We spend a lot of time choosing, okay, Italian or Mexican or so on and so forth. But for your regular meals, you don't want to, you want something very predictable, something go to. And
Yes.
that's what is McDonald's.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arvind. It
My
has
pleasure.
been such a nice conversation knowing more about McDonald's.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for watching Flamcast. We will be coming back with more exciting episodes soon. Stay tuned.